Hi, TDT readers. I'm Alka Elizabeth with the DropTimes. And today, joining us in a talk is Mr. Kaleem Clarkson, the Chief Operating Officer of BlendMe Incorporated, and most importantly, the lead organizer of DrupalCamp Atlanta, Southeast's biggest Drupal annual conference. Now, the DrupalCamp Atlanta 2023 is all set to happen on September 8th. Let's hear from the captain himself what all are awaiting. Hi, Kaleem. It's so nice to have you on a video conference. It's like the closest thing we'll have to meeting face to face. And today we are going to be discussing all about Drupal Camp Atlanta. And it is all set, isn't
Okay.
it? It's all set to happen on September 8th. So I think
Yes, it is.
I'll start with the very obvious question. I would like for you to introduce yourself for the readers and moreover, your introduction to Drupal. And most importantly, what made you stay in the community?
Yeah. Well, my name is Kaleem Clarkson. I am with a company called Blemmy Inc., and we help startups and small businesses work remotely or in hybrid remote workplaces. I kind of have taken my expertise from the Drupal community that I've learned within the Drupal community, and I'm now helping businesses learn how to work remotely. I believe I just had my recent birthday. I think it was 2009 was when I got involved with the Drupal community. I didn't really know much about Drupal then.
Mhm.
I was voluntold to go to this thing called a meetup, and we had to basically. I was at Kennesaw State University at the time, and I was instructed to build a password protected website for people to access some of our online course reviews for the university. So that's how I originally got introduced to Drupal. And I admit my first in-person event was kind of intimidating. um, I remember rolling into a meetup, and there were all these people in media current jackets, and um, I didn't understand a thing. I had learned how to design websites and stuff like that back in the day with Dreamweaver and HTML and CSS and stuff. Shout out to Tom from MySpace. I think he basically created a whole generation of coders just by customizing your profile. But yeah, so I just went in as a designer and started really trying to learn. I didn't know anything about the terminal, didn't know anything about Git. I think at the time people were using IRC to get some sort of support. So it was a lot more difficult to get involved with the community then. So, really to kind of answer the second part of your question, what has kept me like involved is really the people. Like it's so cliche to say that, but once I had an opportunity to meet people in person, um, it was just something I had never experienced, where you're using these modules downloaded by thousands and tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of websites, and to be able to sit next to the person who coded that module and for them to talk to you like, hey, it's really nice to meet you, come on in. It was just such a welcoming feeling that I had just never felt. And I've played college sports, I played sports in high school. It's just a different feeling, right? Like it was very welcoming. And I would say that was something that was very attractive to me, was being able to speak with the contributors themselves. So yeah, that was my first experience with it.
Moving on, I understand you've been a part of Drupal Camp Atlanta since 2020. Like it's been like 4 years. This is your fourth year. Yeah.
No. So actually, something that I just posted. It just posted as we're talking now. Um, so in 2013, Drupal Camp Atlanta was held at the Cobb Gallery, and at the time, and since its inception in 2009, I believe, was the very first Drupal Camp Atlanta. Dave, Terry, and the company Media Current, they were the kind of like the original group of people to really take the camp to a very high level. I remember going to Drupal Camp 2000, maybe 12 was at Georgia Tech. And I was just shocked. I was like, wow, this is really impressive. And then the next year, it was at the Cobb Galleria, which was like a I don't know, like a conference center, huge, like big. And it was a very big camp. I think it might have broke 400 people. And I was just amazed. Well, at the end of that year, or going into 2014, Media Current got super busy with some big contracts, and they just didn't have enough time to organize it. So myself and a whole bunch of, Atlanta Drupal users groups, because there's a users group, a bunch of volunteers, we actually stepped in and organized Drupal Camp Atlanta in 2014 in like a month and a half or 2 months. And that first camp that we kind of organized, and what was great is Dave and everybody that was involved with the camp prior to, they gave us all the contact information, how they organized it. So it was an educational pass off. So myself and different volunteers have been organizing Drupal Camp Atlanta since 2014, taking over from Dave Terry. And just to let you know, this the reason why I posted a video and a blog post is this Friday will be my last Drupal Camp Atlanta as an organizer.
Oh,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
been such a long way. You've started in 2014. It's been almost 10 years, and this is your last
yes,
Drupal Camp
yes,
Atlanta. Like it
yeah.
has changed.
I'm sad. I'm sad, but my career has kind of gone into, like I mentioned, my career has kind of gone into a different direction,
Okay.
and it's just, I think it's just time um, for like the next generation, to pass the baton, to pass the
Yes.
torch. And I hope, and I actually begged and pleaded in my post today that I hope that the Drupal Association, Dries, he's been a keynote before. I hope that the association, Acquia, Dries, and all of the Drupal agencies, my hope is that they would all reach out to all their clients, all their partners, and even their employees that may live in the area, and maybe, and I'm begging, I even said I'm begging, and I plea that those organizations will realize how important a camp is in the Southeast largest city in the U.S. Atlanta has a ton of colleges, is like over 6 million people, a ton of colleges, some of the best in the world, and some of the largest companies in the world are here. And we had the Weather Channel, which used to be Drupal's largest website here, or most busiest website in the world. So that's kind of like my plea. I hope that the community will galvanize around this announcement, and the next generation will take the camp another 15 or 20 years.
So, what do you think is the major change or growth that has happened to Drupal Camp Atlanta since you started being a part of it?
When you said major change,
Yeah, like it has grown over the years, definitely. Drupal Camp Atlanta
mm-hmm.
has grown over the past year, 10 years. And what do you think is the
Mm-hmm.
major growth that has happened or major change as well?
Yeah, I don't know if I will say growth, because it's, attendance has gone up, and it's probably the highest attendance is probably again 2013. But I would say the biggest change that we've gone through really has been, we're one of the more expensive camps. Every expensive camps, as in we charge $65 to attend. That I still find the price point kind of comical when we hear people talk about ticket pricing. It's like, dude, it's not even $75. But I think one of the things we've always tried to do differently, the first camp that we kind of took over in 2014, we just tried to do it with as quick as possible, and we did it in Kennesaw, Georgia, which is about 45 minutes to an hour and 20 minutes from the airport. And it was great, but we heard from the attendees by year 2 or 3, they were like, this is kind of out of the beaten path. It's definitely not Atlanta. So we decided to move the camp to Buckhead, which is in town in the city of Atlanta, and we hosted it at a hotel. So, with my experience in event planning, I've done a ton of conferences for the university before. We just wanted to raise the level of the conference and make it feel like a regional feeling and putting it in the city and putting it in a hotel. So that's what we did. And I would say that, our camp is pretty expensive. It's an $8,000 camp minimum that we have to actually guarantee with the hotel. And I would say that was probably one of the biggest challenges or one of the biggest changes was just trying to produce, uh, a conference-like atmosphere for a small camp. So I would say that that was probably the biggest change.
So this being your last DrupalCamp Atlanta, what are the key highlights and objectives of this year's camp?
I would say revitalizing the community. I think the big challenge, and I think all camps are feeling this. And I did have an opportunity to help organize the event organizers working group, which is an official Drupal working group that I believe started in 2019. I believe is when the event organizers working group started. Please check the date on that.
Okay.
So we were able to kind of build a network of community organizers through the association and work close with them. And I think that was kind of like that was part of a second piece of DrupalCamp Atlanta, just trying to say, hey, how can we get more support from all organizers and work together? That was probably something I'm most proud of, being able to kind of be a vocal person and being a person to kind of start that initiative and kind of help lead that for the first few years. And now it's doing a great thing on its own. So that was kind of one part of it, but I think that's the message of that first year of 20 about the next generation. That's what I'm really hoping the goal of this camp is. The numbers I think again are down for most camps right now, and I think 2020 had a big part in that. Right, everybody, a lot of camp organizers had very difficult choices. Luckily, our hotel let us extend our contract and move it on to now. That's why we're actually still with the hotel, because they let us push our contract dates back until today, and we committed for an extra time. But I think what I'm hoping for this camp is that even if it's smaller, the people that do come, number one, they experience a high level experience. So we cater everything. They've catered breakfast, catered lunch, an open bar reception. Like, we do everything at its highest level. And my goal really is that people galvanize around this camp. They galvanize and they want it to come back, and people will come out and volunteer to help organize the camp next year. So I think the big message for this year's camp is community, and who are going to be the next generation of Atlanta area organizers.
Right. Okay, so BlendMe Incorporated, it's a company that is so dedicated to improve the remote employee experience for the small companies.
Yes.
And also, how has that expertise helped you organize DrupalCamp Atlanta, and what are the measures we have adopted to accommodate the remote participants for the camp?
Yeah, so interestingly enough, I would say the Drupal community has influenced myself and Blend as how to be a remote company, because as an organization, as an open source group, we're all working remotely. We're all contributing code remotely. We're all contributing documentation remotely. We're all getting on Zoom calls and getting on different, Slack and figuring out ways to better the platform and better the community, all while being dispersed around the world, like right now, right? Like, so if anything, the experience from Blend hasn't helped really the Drupal at all. It's the experience from Drupal and the lessons that I've learned from the community that has allowed me to go out and help small businesses improve how they work remotely. So yeah, I think one of the things that we decided after the pandemic was not completely over, but when we decided to go in person, people ask, hey, are you going to have a hybrid component to the camp? Are you going to stream to allow more people to participate? And just as a group, one of the things that we felt was that, I enjoy remote conferences. I fully do. I think remote conferences are great. So many advantages to doing a conference fully online. But one of the things that I firmly believe in, and a belief that I help other, clients and other companies with, is that there is really no substitute for in person. It doesn't mean that you can't be a fully remote company. In person does not, like, remote does not mean never in person. So I think for us, we decided we didn't want to have a hybrid streaming experience because it's not the same. And these camps are about connection and in our opinion, being at these camps and connecting with people in person is why we do those things. So we're one of, I don't know how many camps there are that kind of believe in that, but like, that was one of the things that we decided that, what, we appreciate the idea of the hybrid camps or online camps, but we just felt that the best experience is in person. So let's try to go with that experience. Now, in the past, we've done fully online events just in between camps. So even before the pandemic, we've had an online camp or a different camp prior to online. But yeah, we don't really do anything for remote attendees at DrupalCamp Atlanta. Maybe the next set of people will change that. See, there we
Yeah,
go. There's an opportunity.
it's a big challenge, going for an full on-site event, because in the evolving remote workspace, everyone finds it more comfortable for a remote conference. Like, isn't that a big challenge? Weren't there questions?
I'm sorry.
Weren't there questions of not making the event hybrid, because there'll be people who are more comfortable attending it remote?
So the question you're asking me is, did we receive questions about why we're not making the conference remote
Yeah, hybrid.
hybrid? No, I mean, we've had a few people reach out and say, hey, can I present, remotely? And, we just kind of passed on that. We just felt like, again, as far as being an organizer, being anything that you add, like when you're a full volunteer person, right? Nobody makes any money from these camps at all. All the volunteers take on the risk. Um, I just, as the lead project lead, I just didn't feel that the value or the amount of effort to go into ensuring that the virtual experience is good and the people that are there are experiencing the virtual experience on an equal playing field. It's pretty difficult to do, and a lot of production costs go into that. So that was just something that we found, that we just decided that the value just didn't equal the effort.
Okay. So DrupalCamp Atlanta will have various sessions. Okay, how do you decide on making the sessions more adaptive, more up to date? We have diverse attendees attending the event. There'll be people from different backgrounds, different connections, and different intellectual capacity. There'll be beginners, there'll be people who are more experienced in the event. So how do you structure the events in the sessions in such a way that it is accommodating this diverse attendees and organizers? Sorry, attendees.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we kind of followed suit of what DrupalCon did years ago, and we added some more tracks, and we kind of merged some tracks and added some more tracks. So we added a people operations track, the HR space, the business leadership track. So we feel like by adding some of those non-technical tracks, we're able to attract some sessions. And this year we have, a couple of sessions on leadership, also how to hire, right? So that kind of automatically um, takes away some of the non-technical. Now, as an attendee who didn't have any technical expertise when I started, I will say um, forcing yourself to attend a technical talk, even if you don't understand a lot of what's happening, there's a ton of value in that. You may not understand, pre-process functions or, the twig theming layer. All of those things may sound foreign to you when you start, but the more you attend, the more that you'll understand. So we do actually still have, some technical sessions that everybody will attend.
Okay. So you're an advocate of diversity and inclusion. You've been quite vocal about it. So what are the measures
Yeah.
the DrupalCamp Atlanta have adapted to accommodate this uh, diverse population out there to make it inclusive for them?
Yeah, it's not easy. It's very hard. It's very difficult. I think one of the things that we did probably a while ago, geez, what year was that? 2017 or 18? We implemented adding scholarships. We had it like we never wanted pricing to be an issue. And by the way, I've talked about this a lot. Most people think pricing is the reason why diverse populations are not attending conferences, and that's not always the case. I always kind of like start with that because it's like, okay, there's plenty of wealthy people that look like us that have chosen not to go. So I think that's the first question that, I think that's a more difficult question to answer. Like, well, why, if that's the case, well, why is this population not attending? But for socioeconomic statuses, that was an easy fix for us. It's like, look, sponsors generally come out and help us out. We can absolutely allow as many people to attend. And we had a bunch of university students come. We've tried to push that more and more because we want younger people involved with the community. So scholarships are really important. We've had a session with keynote panelists that were kind of experts in that area. And another reason why going to the hotel was really attractive to us is that they have a lot of handicap accessible regulations, and it was really easy for us to just go into this new spot. Boom, people could stay in the hotel that we're doing the event at. It's all on one floor. So that was another motivation for us to go to the hotel venue for some of those things.
Oh, so I think it's the right moment to ask this question because you've been part of DrupalCamp Atlanta for these many years and it's coming to an end. You'll be having so many experience regarding the event. But what is, if I ask you to bring out one heart-touching moment from all the past 9 years that DrupalCamp Atlanta has happened, what would that be?
Oh, that's a really, really good one. We've had so many great keynotes. Kyle Matthews from Gatsby, David Cummings, who built Atlanta Tech Village. There's just been so many. Mike Anello, of course, Ryan Zarama. I'm blanking on what year this might have been, but I've sort of picture of it. One year, uh, like I really built a close relationship with Jacob Rockowitz, the former maintainer of web forms, and now he is. I think he's still a co-maintainer, but he did a big splash of, and now he's maintaining, I think, the blueprint module or the schema module. Sorry, the schema module. But it was one year where he flew down. I can't remember the names, but we all went out. I think Ryan was there. Ryan Zarama was there. Um, we all went out to have barbecue after the event. And I just remember sitting there with, Jake and Ryan and I think Chris McGrath from at the time was Drupal contractors, now Drupal now they're esteemed. I hadn't met any of them yet. And I was just sitting there listening to Jose Olivero. I can't remember his name. He created a really awesome product back then, and I'm drawing a blank, but he was also there. And I just remember sitting there thinking, wow, you're sitting here with so many intelligent people, and they're just as nice as can be. And we were listening to jazz, eating ribs, and I just remember thinking, geez, I can't believe I'm just doing this with these people, and they're just cool as hell. And yeah, I'll never forget that moment. That's one of the best moments that I've had as an organizer, no doubt.
Okay, that is a real nice one.
Yeah.
These moments that keep us alive. Anyway, now the last question, I say.
Okay. All
Okay,
right.
so you're ready to pass on the baton to the next generation. So what would be your advice to them?
Yes, please just get as many people involved that are get as many people involved, get as many volunteers as involved. Like the Drupal community as a whole, we need the technology is not going anywhere. It's been around 20 years now. It's it it's a good CM, it's the best CMS.
Okay.
So my advice to the next generation is to find find other communities to connect with that are technology communities, because now you can use different front ends. Find the Vue community, find the React community, and find some of these other technologies and figure out a way to kind of ingrain those technologies into DrupalCamp. Also focus on the talent. So many of these agencies, and we've tried that, so many of these agencies, Drupal agencies, are desperate for talent. In addition to not just the Drupal agencies, like companies that are using Drupal are desperate. And we're getting older quickly. So my suggestion would be try to focus on, the value that you can bring to these agencies as sponsors. And that value is talent. So think about a way to attract talent to attend, and think about ways that you can disperse that talent or connect that talent with some of these sponsors.
Thank you so much, Kaleem. I'm really happy that we had this session, and also I'm really sure that the Drupal community will be grateful for all the things you have done so far, especially regarding DrupalCamp Atlanta. And I'm really happy we had this opportunity, and I'm really sure the TDT, the DropTimes readers, will also be happy to hear about the inputs of DrupalCamp Atlanta. And whatever
Thank you.
may be the next track you're choosing, I wish you all the best, and may you come out as a winner in that track too. Thank you
That's
so much for
awesome.
this time.